Yo, YouTube, what is good, bruv, guy, what is good, and we are back with another video. So I'm someone who personally loves turn-based JRPGs, and it's easily my favourite type of combat style in any game. With so many JRPGs nowadays and long-running franchises like Final Fantasy for example, looking to go in the direction of action-based combat, it seems as though quite a few JRPGs has changed to an action-based type of combat to appeal to a wider range of fans, with so many believing turn-based JRPGs are dead. But I'm here to tell you that turn-based JRPGs are most definitely not dead, so in this video, I wanted to share with you guys 5 of the best modern turn-based JRPGs you should be checking out. Chained Echoes. Developed entirely by one man, the great Matthias Linder, that sentence alone should be enough to make you want to check out this masterpiece of a JRPG. Releasing back in December of 2022, Chained Echoes is a modern day JRPG with 16-bit style graphics inspired by classic NES JRPGs. With so many 16-bit era inspired JRPGs being released all over the place, and so many claiming to be Chrono Trigger passion projects, it can be rare to find one that does stand out for the rest of the crowd. For me, Chained Echoes really set itself apart with just how unique the game was. Now of course, the game being developed by one man was enough to have me interested, but the actual gameplay, the beautiful 16-bit style graphics, the mature story, and the great character development throughout, Chained Echoes really caught me by surprise. So the mature story throughout Chained Echoes was something that I praised highly, and I thought was executed superbly. It gave me a lot of Suikoden vibes throughout, and even reminded me of a more modern game in triangle strategy. So without spoiling anything, the game's story deals with a war that has been waged on for generations, but it's so well done where there are twists and turns at every corner. The story does a fantastic job at keeping you engaged throughout your journey with some incredible writing to boot. Chained Echoes does a great job at eliminating things that made older JRPGs more tedious to play at times, like random encounters for example, by adding enemies that can be seen running around, which most modern day JRPGs have nowadays. Now the one thing that set Chained Echoes apart from a lot of these 16-bit era inspired JRPGs was the battle system. The battle system in Chained Echoes, which is known as the Overdrive system, is so original and modern. I absolutely loved how it was used throughout the game and is most definitely up there as one of my favourite original combat systems in any JRPG. So essentially, in most turn-based JRPGs, you do have to think about what your next move is going to be, whether that be guarding up to avoid taking heavy damage from an enemy, hitting a stunned enemy with your most powerful attack, or taking a healing item to heal your party on one turn as opposed to doing damage. In Chained Echoes, the Overdrive system complements the fast turn-based combat with a meter at the top left of the screen, where you'll need to stay within the green zone of the meter to do the most effective damage possible, or to reduce incoming damage. Different element-based symbols pop up in a small box next to the Overdrive meter as an indication as to what moves will keep you within the green zone of the meter. Personally, I thought this was just such a great way of not allowing turn-based combat throughout the game to get stale, as it always kept you thinking and had you wary of the meter at all times. Chained Echoes for me is such an incredible game with a beautiful art style, an interesting world, characters and an original combat system, and is easily one of my favourite modern turn-based JRPGs I feel everyone needs to experience. Fire Emblem Engage. Now personally, I was going to include Three Houses instead of Engage to this list, but when I think about how much more enjoyable combat was with certain new elements that were added to the game, it was a no-brainer and I just had to include it on this list. So I mentioned in a previous video, which I will be leaving a card to on screen, about 5 JRPGs I've loved so far in 2023. Fire Emblem Engage still remains up there as one of my favourite JRPGs to release from this year. So the game felt like an insane step up from the already incredible Three Houses, from the game's beautiful art style which added so much vibrancy and colour to the world and characters, and the addition of the bond rings which allowed you to have all protagonists from previous Fire Emblem games aid you in battle. For me personally, the game just felt so fun to play, and with the already amazing strategy turn-based combat of the first Fire Emblem entry on the Switch and Three Houses, Engage just found a way to improve more what made that game great from a combat standpoint. So for me personally, Engage done a fantastic job with its map design and backdrop, which again was a huge step up in my opinion from Three Houses, which definitely complemented the combat this time around. Combat wise, as mentioned, I was a huge fan of the use of the bond rings, and getting to play as some of my favourite protagonists in the series like Ike, Marth and Roy for example in the modern day Fire Emblem game felt amazing. So one thing that I praised highly along with the use of the bond rings was the animations. I feel the animations took a massive step up from Three Houses. Everything just looked so much more smooth and so much more flashy and engaged, and I felt added to the already amazing gameplay which allowed the game to never feel dull or repetitive. Fire Emblem Engage so far still remains up there as a top candidate for my favourite JRPGs of 2023, and is easily up there as one of the best modern turn-based JRPGs I have played to date. Octopath Traveler 2. So if you guys are fans of the channel and know me well, you will know just how much I love Octopath Traveler 2. Again, just like Fire Emblem Engage, Octopath Traveler 2 is easily up there as one of the best JRPGs I've played so far in 2023, improving on so much from the first game, but not changing up too much to take away from the formula of what made the first game great. For me, Octopath Traveler 2 just felt like an incredible experience from start to finish. With the amazing stories told throughout the game, and each one of the 8 travelers having their own unique and well told stories, with gripping writing, incredible voice acting, amazing world building and really strong character development throughout, Octopath Traveler 2 is a game that will have you hooked to each character's story throughout your journey. So the one thing I always talk about of Octopath Traveler 2 is the HD 2D art style. I've probably mentioned it so much on this channel, but I don't think I'll ever get tired of doing so. It's easily one of my most beloved art styles in most JRPGs nowadays, and I feel the first Octopath Traveler game set the trend with the HD 2D art style, and I feel just adds to the uniqueness of the Octopath games. So moving on to the combat, which is most definitely my favourite part of the game aside from the amazing art style and brilliant voice acting, the combat in Octopath Traveler 2 uses a variety of different layers within its turn-based combat, with each enemy having a shield that varies in level from 1 to 10, which will need to be broken in order to stagger the enemy for a few turns so you can do damage. So the one thing that I loved about combat was the use of the boost meter, which is indicated by a red glowing circle above each character's name. The boost meter can be stored on each turn, meaning if you want to unleash all your boosts on a staggered enemy, which will make moves more powerful, you can do so. The amount of variety within the game's combat makes for some really fun turn-based combat, meaning not every battle will go the same, especially in boss battles where the game's boost system really shines through. For me, Octopath Traveler 2 so far is my favourite JRPG I played in 2023, and just like its predecessor, still remains one of the premier modern day turn-based JRPGs you need to play. Persona 5. Now if you guys know me personally and couldn't already tell from my channel logo, Persona 5 is easily my favourite JRPG of all time. Persona 5's 100-hour experience just feels like an experience like no other. From the game's insanely beautiful art style and its unique sense to that art style, which is shown through the game's soundtrack, UI design and combat especially, Persona 5 for me has always been the benchmark for modern turn-based JRPGs, and also a JRPG I feel has gained a cult following over the years, amassing new fans of not only the Persona games but JRPGs as a genre. Persona 5 has such a gripping story throughout. From the first hour of the game, you are introduced to the world and characters and immediately glued to where the game's story will take you. One thing I love about Persona 5 is the social sim aspect of the game. Getting to know party members as confidants, which would have an adverse effect on how you would go about combat, through fusing demons which would gain stat boosts based on certain confidant traits, I thought was executed superbly throughout Persona 5 and is a staple of the Persona series. So the combat in Persona 5 is something I never got tired of, and is easily up there as one of my favourite turn-based systems. Where it doesn't do anything crazy to separate itself from other turn-based JRPGs, I thought the use of the one more system was a really great feature. Hitting a weakness, then being able to get an extra turn to hit another weakness with another character, then going for those flashy all-out attacks was amazing to me. So for me personally, Persona 5 just has a perfect blend of everything I love personally in a modern JRPG. Incredible voice acting, a great cast of likeable characters, a well written story, amazing combat and amazing soundtrack to boot. Persona 5 will always be my favourite JRPG of all time and is easily one of the best modern turn-based JRPGs ever. Shin Megami Tensei 5. Now this list is in no particular order, but when we talk about modern JRPGs that have an amazing one-of-one turn-based combat system, none do it like the SMT games. SMT5 for me is most definitely one of my favourites in the series, with this essentially being the series' first outing on modern consoles released on the Switch back in November 2021. Personally, I always loved how well designed SMT5 was. The game went in a more open zone approach to each level as the game progressed, which I thought was done superbly throughout the game, also coupled with the awesome design of the main protagonist Hobino. Now SMT games are not usually known for their story, where the stories are usually pretty dark in tone with various different endings. Personally, I actually enjoyed the story for SMT5 and was for sure one of my favourites in the series, alongside some of my favourites like SMT3 Nocturne and SMT4. So if you guys are not too familiar with how the SMT game's battle system works, I think it's a very unique battle system and I will try to explain it the best I can. So the SMT games have this unique system known as the press turn system, where if you hit a weakness or you get a critical hit, you'll get an extra turn, where the press turn icon will start to blink at the top right of the screen. Not hitting a weakness, but hitting an enemy will use up a turn, and if you miss an attack, it will use up your turns and go to the enemy's turn. Man oh man, was that a lot of turns of that sentence. But all jokes aside, the beauty of this battle system and what adds to the challenge of the SMT games and why they are essentially considered the Souls games of JRPGs is that the press turn system can be exploited and used by the enemy even on normal difficulty. The harder bosses will look to use the press turn system against you, which makes for some really interesting and gripping turn-based combat, keeping you on edge throughout. So if you've never played an SMT game, I feel SMT5 is a great place to start. The turn-based combat and the press turn system is one of the most unique turn-based systems in any JRPG franchise, and is most definitely up there as one of my favourite modern turn-based JRPGs ever. So that'll do it for this video guys. I really appreciate you guys for watching. I'd love to know what some of your favourite modern turn-based JRPGs are, so please let me know down below in the comments. So please like, sub, share if you're new, hit that notification bell so you get notified of my videos first, and I hope I can be you guys' #1 source for all JRPG news. So from me too, this has been your bruv, the big bruv, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next video. I'm out. Peace!